Every year, when the chill of late October settles in and the leaves crunch beneath our feet, Halloween night becomes a playground of costumes, candy, and harmless mischief. Children laugh as they knock on doors, trick-or-treating under the watchful gaze of glowing jack-o'-lanterns. Teenagers, emboldened by the anonymity of masks and darkness, wander the streets plotting pranks that, in their minds, are meant to be funny or rebellious. But history reminds us that not every prank ends with laughter. Sometimes, a night of mischief spirals out of control, leaving behind stories that haunt communities for years to come. Tonight, we step into the shadowy side of Halloween tradition, the pranks that went terribly wrong. To understand how innocent games could turn into frightening tales, we need to step back into the roots of Halloween mischief. Before the holiday was commercialized with candy and costumes, Halloween was already associated with trickery. In parts of Ireland and Scotland, long before Halloween came to America, young people would engage in guising and mumming, knocking on doors, demanding food or drink, and sometimes playing pranks on those who refused. Mischief was woven into the night's fabric because the boundary between order and chaos was believed to be thin when the veil between the living and the dead lifted. When Irish and Scottish immigrants brought their traditions to America in the 19th century, pranks quickly became part of the new Halloween. But while some were small and playful, soaping windows, moving gates, or leaving pumpkins smashed in the street, others escalated into chaos. By the early 20th century, Halloween night in many cities was less about candy and more about destruction. Newspapers at the time often reported smashed streetlights, broken windows, fires, and even injuries. In some towns, Halloween was feared not for its ghosts, but for its gangs of masked youths roaming the streets. One infamous tradition became known as Mischief Night. In places like New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Detroit, the night before Halloween was dedicated entirely to pranks. At first, it was silly fun, throwing corn kernels at windows or stringing soap on doorknobs. But by the 1930s and 40s, Mischief Night spiraled out of control. In Camden, New Jersey, newspapers reported widespread vandalism on October 30th, with cars overturned, fires set in vacant lots, and whole neighborhoods left in fear. What had once been considered childish, mischief became an annual night of near riots, with police scrambling to control the chaos. Families locked their doors, not because of spirits, but because of the very real human danger outside. In Detroit, Mischief Night gained an even darker reputation during the 1970s and 80s, when it transformed into what residents grimly called Devil's Night. Fires spread across abandoned buildings, sometimes set intentionally by pranksters who thought it was part of the game. At its peak in the 1980s, hundreds of fires were reported in Detroit on the nights leading up to Halloween. What started as a prank culture became a destructive phenomenon that scarred the city for decades. While community groups and volunteers eventually worked hard to reclaim Halloween from the chaos, the memory of Devil's Night remains an eerie reminder of how quickly pranks can spiral into disaster. But not all Halloween mischief that went wrong involved large-scale chaos. Sometimes a simple prank between friends could end in tragedy. One well-documented case comes from rural communities where teenagers, in an attempt to scare their neighbors, would dress in ghostly costumes and hide along dark country roads. Drivers, not expecting figures to leap from the shadows, occasionally swerved or panicked, leading to accidents. While newspapers often softened the stories, the message was clear. What seemed like a harmless joke could have life-altering consequences. There are also stories of pranks tied to the iconic jack-o'-lanterns. In the late 1800s, it became fashionable for boys to carve grotesque faces into pumpkins or turnips and place candles inside. The idea was to frighten passers-by when the glowing faces appeared in the dark. But with open flames and dry autumn leaves everywhere, accidents happened. Reports from small-town newspapers in the Midwest tell of barns, sheds, or even homes catching fire when a prankster left a jack-o'-lantern in the wrong place. While the fires were often described as accidental, the link to Halloween pranks was well understood by the communities left to rebuild in the aftermath. The culture of Halloween pranks also intersected with fear itself. Parents began warning children not only about being out late, but also about the potential dangers of strangers' pranks. By the mid-20th century, rumors began spreading that Halloween candy could be tampered with. Although most of these stories were more urban legend than reality, they shaped the way communities saw the holiday. A single prank or malicious act, like hiding sharp objects in food, would send waves of fear through entire neighborhoods. Authorities often confirmed that many of the most terrifying candy stories were hoaxes or exaggerated rumors, yet the fear itself became real. What started as mischief turned into paranoia, changing how parents allowed children to celebrate Halloween. And then there are the pranks that were meant to scare, but ended up leaving psychological scars. Imagine being a child, walking down a dark street when masked figures leap out of the bushes, screaming and chasing you. In some towns, these kinds of pranks became traditions among older kids, rituals of proving bravery. But some accounts tell of children left so terrified they refused to go out on Halloween again. The fun of the prank vanished, replaced by trauma. Even schools were not safe from Halloween mischief gone wrong. In the 1950s, as Halloween parties grew popular in classrooms, students sometimes snuck in pranks, stink bombs, fake spiders, or sudden blackouts, but in some cases, the jokes crossed the line. One report tells of a prank where a group of students released chickens into a school hallway during a Halloween event. The chaos left injuries as panicked children scrambled and the pranksters faced serious consequences. What they thought was harmless fun quickly escalated into something administrators and parents could not laugh off. As Halloween moved deeper into popular culture, horror movies and urban legends only fueled prank culture. Young people wanted to reenact scenes from films or test the boundaries of fear in real life. In the 1970s and 80s, it wasn't uncommon to hear of pranksters staging fake hauntings or pretending to be serial killers on Halloween night. While most of it was theatrical, the problem was that people didn't always know where the performance ended and the threat began. Police reports from this era describe terrified families calling in emergencies, convinced that what they were witnessing was real danger. So why do these pranks so often go wrong? Perhaps because Halloween, more than any other night, blurs the line between what is safe and what is dangerous, what is play and what is real. Masks hide identities, darkness hides intentions. A prank meant as a joke can quickly become indistinguishable from something sinister. And remember, these are only the first shadows of our journey, because Halloween history is full of pranks that cross the line, some ending in tragedy, others spawning legends that live on long after the pranksters are gone. What seems funny in the moment can echo in fear for generations. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, we'll dive even deeper into chilling true cases, stories from around the world where Halloween pranks became headlines, where superstition mixed with tragedy, and where the thin line between laughter and terror snapped without warning. As we step deeper into the shadows of Halloween history, the stories grow more unsettling. By the late 20th century, Halloween was a firmly established holiday in America and had spread in popularity across the world. But alongside the costumes and candy, pranks remained a darker tradition. Some were mischievous and silly, but others became so reckless that they not only frightened communities, but sometimes changed lives forever. One infamous case unfolded in the 1980s in Chicago. Teenagers, hoping to scare their neighbors, set up a fake hanging scene on a porch. They used a harness and dummy rope to make it look as though one of them was dangling lifelessly from the rafters. At first, it drew laughter from friends and curious stares from passers-by. But when the stunt went wrong and the harness slipped, the situation turned dangerous. A prank designed to be funny became a near-fatal accident, shocking the neighborhood. The story spread quickly, reminding parents and teachers alike that Halloween was not just a night for tricks and treats. It was also a night when judgment could falter. A similar theme runs through countless news clippings from across America in the 1990s and early 2000s. Fake kidnappings staged as jokes haunted attractions that blurred the line between performance and reality. Or pranksters jumping out at cars to scare drivers. Each carried the same risk. Sometimes the pranksters underestimated how people might react. Startling a stranger on a dark road might seem like a thrilling way to make them scream. But fear is unpredictable. Drivers panicked, swerved, or sped away, leading to crashes that had nothing funny about them. Beyond America, Halloween mischief also carried dark consequences. In the United Kingdom, Halloween pranks became so disruptive in some towns that law enforcement had to create public campaigns. Posters warned against throwing eggs or flour at houses, a prank that had become almost ritual. For many homeowners, the damage wasn't just messy, it was threatening. Vulnerable or elderly residents felt trapped in their own homes, afraid of the knocks on their doors. What was seen by teenagers as harmless fun often translated into intimidation for those on the receiving end. The same pattern appeared in Canada, where Devil's Night mischief occasionally spilled into arson or vandalism. Communities began organizing Angel's Night, where volunteers patrolled the streets, keeping watch to prevent Halloween chaos. These efforts show how seriously communities took the dangers of pranks once they escalated. When thousands of volunteers are needed to keep order, it is a reminder of how thin the line can be between tradition and destruction. One chilling modern case that made headlines involved a Halloween haunted house attraction in the United States. Actors dressed as monsters and killers jumped out at visitors, designed to terrify them within a safe, controlled environment. But one year, an actor decided to add his own unscripted scare by pretending to grab a visitor and drag them down a dark hallway. The guest, not realizing it was a prank, believed they were in real danger. Panic broke out, lawsuits followed, and the haunted house's reputation never recovered. What was meant to be entertainment became a nightmare for both the victim and the business. These stories reveal a deeper truth about Halloween. Fear, once unleashed, is difficult to control. It doesn't always stop at laughter. Sometimes it spirals into panic, violence, or long-lasting trauma. And then there are the urban legends, stories that may not be entirely true, but are retold every Halloween, feeding the holiday's darker edge. For decades, tales of poisoned candy or razor blades hidden in apples circulated widely. While most investigations proved these claims false or exaggerated, they still influenced parents and children alike. A prank or rumor could alter the way entire communities approached the holiday. Police departments issued warnings, hospitals offered to X-ray candy, and fear took root. Even if the pranks themselves were not real, the paranoia they inspired was. Another legend often whispered around Halloween is that of the prank call gone wrong. Teenagers, fueled by horror movie inspiration, would dial neighbors pretending to be a stalker or a ghostly voice from beyond. In some cases, recipients took the calls seriously enough to involve authorities. The pranksters might have laughed at first, but the consequences, police at the door, furious parents, or even criminal charges were no laughing matter. Perhaps the most unnerving aspect of Halloween pranks is how easily they tap into our primal fears. Darkness, masks, the unknown, these are elements that trigger our deepest instincts. When pranksters exploit those fears, they may not realize the damage they cause. A scare in the wrong place, at the wrong time, can break trust, trigger panic attacks, or scar memories forever. Modern technology has only amplified this. In the age of social media, pranks are not just about the people directly involved, they are about an audience. Countless YouTube videos, TikToks, and Instagram clips show Halloween pranks staged for laughs and views. But behind the likes and shares are very real risks. Some scare pranks online feature people dressed as clowns, wielding fake weapons and chasing strangers. Viewers may laugh at the footage, but for the unsuspecting victims in the moment, the terror feels real. There are documented cases where these pranks ended with fights, injuries, or police intervention. The desire for viral fame has only increased the stakes of Halloween mischief, yet not all stories of Halloween pranks gone wrong end in tragedy. Some carry lessons about responsibility and growth. Communities that once feared Halloween chaos have found ways to reclaim the holiday. Block parties, trunk or treat events, and supervised haunted houses provide safer alternatives. Police. Departments and schools run campaigns teaching kids about respect, reminding them that, while fun is encouraged, danger is never far away when pranks cross the line. Still, the darker stories linger. Every Halloween season, local news outlets revive tales of past pranks that ended in fire, injury, or worse. These cautionary tales serve as warnings. Remember the past so it does not repeat. Parents share them with children, teachers with students, communities with newcomers. The stories become part of Halloween itself, a reminder that mischief carries consequences. And maybe that is why these stories endure. They are not just about fear. They are about the fragile balance of Halloween night, a night when joy and terror walk hand in hand. They remind us that the masks we wear can both entertain and deceive, that the laughter we seek can quickly twist into screams. So as we step away from these stories, remember the lesson. Halloween pranks may start in jest, but once set loose in the shadows, they can grow beyond control. A single moment of thoughtlessness can ripple through a lifetime. And when the night grows cold, when the jack-o'-lanterns burn low, and when the laughter fades into silence, it is the memories of those pranks gone wrong that linger longest.